The sky above Earth was no longer blue. It was filled with metal, colossal alien ships blotting out the sun, their hulls gleaming like blades drawn over a dying planet. Every city on the surface had gone silent as the Galactic Council's fleet descended. Their message echoed across all frequencies: surrender or be erased. For the first time, the entire human race watched together, waiting to see what their leaders would do. In orbit, thousands of ships surrounded Earth, forming a noose of light. The Council expected fear. They expected humanity to beg. Instead, they saw the opposite. On the surface, cities powered up. Satellites realigned. The orbital defense grid, thought to be primitive by galactic standards, began to hum with energy. Humanity didn't send diplomats or pleas. They sent silence, and silence was worse than defiance. From the flagship Ardent Dawn, Commander Voss stood on the bridge. Her eyes traced the holographic swarm of enemy fleets that filled the void like locusts. "They think we'll kneel," she said softly. "They still don't understand Earth." Her officers said nothing. They didn't have to. Orders had already been given. The planetary defense AI, codename Aegis, was online. The plan wasn't to fight. It was to remind the galaxy that a Deathworld never dies quietly. The first alien transmission came from the Council Admiral, a towering, feathered being whose voice was laced with venom. "Humanity of Sol, by decree of the Galactic Council, you are to be judged for crimes against peace. You will surrender your world, your fleets, and your sovereignty." Commander Voss smiled. "Judged?" she replied calmly. "Funny. I didn't realize you could judge what you don't understand." The alien ships moved first, spreading in perfect formation. Beams of light charged along their weapons arrays. Earth's defense satellites seemed small and ancient by comparison, relics of a young civilization. But then something strange happened. The satellites didn't aim for the attacking ships. They turned inward, targeting each other. Within seconds, beams crossed between them, forming an intricate web of energy surrounding the planet. The alien admirals panicked. The readings made no sense. The human network pulsed once and then again. In less than a heartbeat, the defense grid bent light itself, creating a distortion field across Earth's orbit. Alien sensors went blind. Navigation systems screamed warnings. Then, one by one, the massive cruisers of the Galactic Fleet lost communication. "What have they done?" the alien admiral roared. "They've cloaked the entire planet." But it wasn't just a cloak. The human defense field was feeding on the enemy's energy signatures, turning their own weapons into a power source. Every shot fired against Earth made the distortion grow stronger. Inside the Ardent Dawn, Commander Voss whispered to her crew, "Transmit the signal to the Council. Let them know Earth has received their invitation." A beam of golden light shot from orbit toward the Council's homeworld across the stars. It wasn't an attack, it was a message. Humanity wasn't hiding anymore. They were coming to the trial. Hours later, in the heart of the galaxy, the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was silent. Representatives of 100 species sat in the curved hall, each one staring at the lone figure standing at the center platform. She was young, barely 30, brown hair tied back, eyes sharp and unwavering. Her name was Alara Voss, Earth's chosen representative. She wasn't a soldier like her sister on the Ardent Dawn, but she carried the same fire in her gaze. Around her, the chamber shimmered with color and movement. The High Speaker of the Council, an enormous insectoid creature with crystalline wings, hovered above the platform. "Human of Earth," it said, voice vibrating through the air. "Your species stands accused of violating galactic peace. You have resisted subjugation, weaponized forbidden technologies, and incited rebellion among lesser worlds. Do you deny these charges?" Alara looked up at the High Speaker. "We don't deny surviving," she said simply. A low hiss spread through the chamber. Dozens of alien ambassadors clicked, growled, or muttered curses. The High Speaker's eyes flared. "You will address this council with respect. Kneel as custom demands." Alara didn't move. She stood perfectly still, her chin lifted. The silence stretched, sharp as a blade. "I don't kneel," she said. "Not for fear. Not for power. Not for lies dressed as peace." The crowd erupted in outrage. The guards raised their weapons. The High Speaker slammed its staff and the noise stopped. "You misunderstand, human. This is not a choice. Kneel or be erased from existence." Alara met its gaze. "You already tried that," she said. "Your fleets hang dead in our orbit. If that's erasure, you'll need better tools." The council chamber fell into a stunned hush. Some of the delegates leaned forward fascinated. Others recoiled in anger. A few, those from enslaved worlds, looked at her with something like hope. The High Speaker turned its eyes toward the other council members. Then let it be known. Earth refuses peace. Humanity is declared a hostile species. Their fate shall be decided by the trials. A deep tone vibrated through the hall as massive stone panels shifted behind the speaker's throne. The trials were ancient, tests of endurance, cunning, and obedience designed to break civilizations before they were allowed to join the council. No world had ever passed them unscathed. Alara didn't flinch. "If you think trials will make us kneel," she said softly, "you haven't been to Earth." One of the smaller delegates, a scaled creature from the desert planet Kaloon, hissed from its seat. "Deathworlds are unstable. You breed violence, destruction. You don't belong among us," Alara turned to it. "Maybe, but somehow we survived ours." "Can you say the same?" The alien fell silent. The High Speaker raised its staff again. "Enough. You will begin your trial at dawn. Prepare yourself, human. When it ends, there will be no more Earth." Alara glanced up at the enormous dome of the chamber, where stars shimmered through transparent crystal. "If you want to see the end of Earth," she said quietly, "you'll have to survive it first." As she was escorted from the hall, dozens of eyes followed her, some filled with hatred, others with curiosity. The whispers began immediately. A Deathworld girl refusing to kneel. What arrogance! What if she survives? No human could. But deep in the observation tier, an old alien commander watched her leave. His name was Rethan, veteran of the first human skirmish. He had seen Earth's storms, its wild oceans, its burning deserts, and the strange creatures who called it home. He knew what it meant to stand against a Deathworld species, and as Alara vanished through the doors, he felt a rare chill crawl down his spine. "She's not arrogant," he muttered to himself. "She's dangerous." Outside the chamber, Alara was guided through long corridors of silver and stone. She said nothing as the guards led her to her quarters. When the doors closed behind her, she placed her hand on the small transmitter hidden beneath her sleeve. A flicker of blue light appeared. It was a secure link from the ardent dawn, still in orbit around Earth. Her sister's voice came through, steady and calm. "They're watching you, Alara, every word. Every move." "I know," Alara replied. "Good, let them watch. What's your plan?" Alara stared out the window toward the council's distant sun. "To remind them," she said. "Remind them what happens when you try to chain a death world." Far across the stars, Earth's defense grid pulsed again, quiet, unseen, alive. The galaxy thought humanity was alone, outmatched, surrounded. But the truth was simpler. The humans had never expected mercy. They had only ever needed time. And as the alien fleets held their orbit, waiting for the council's signal, something stirred beneath the clouds of Earth. Thousands of engines, silent and unseen, warmed in the dark. Humanity was already moving. In the council's perfect order, cracks had begun to form. And the girl who refused to kneel was the first fracture. The blackness above Earth was alive with movement. Alien fleets, vast and silent, formed a ring of fire around the planet, each ship humming with energy. The Galactic Council had deployed the Vanguard Armada, the strongest military force in the known galaxy. Their ships were enormous, some the size of continents, each carrying weapons that could erase cities with a single strike. The message was clear. Earth would kneel or burn. But in the shadows of orbit, hidden beneath electromagnetic storms, a different kind of fleet waited. Smaller, sharper, built not for intimidation but survival. Human warships. Their hulls were patched and uneven, old scars of metal layered with newer alloys scavenged from alien wrecks. They didn't look powerful. They looked desperate. But their crews, those who had grown up under Earth's storms, gravity, and chaos, knew something the aliens didn't. Desperation makes you dangerous. Commander Rylan paced the bridge of the Vigil's end, staring at the tactical screen. Thousands of red signals blinked around Earth, each one a council warship. "They're closing the perimeter," said one of his officers. "If they fire together, the planet's shield won't hold." Rylan nodded. "That's what they're counting on." He looked out the viewport at the pale blue curve of Earth below. "They think we're still fighting in straight lines." The Fleet Command AI, an old synthetic voice named Helix, spoke through the speakers. "Council fleet readying primary weapons. Estimated time to impact 7 minutes. Rylan leaned forward. Initiate Phantom Net. Across orbit, thousands of human satellites powered on. They weren't weapons, at least not in the usual sense. Each was a tiny pulse generator built by engineers who once worked in mining colonies. As the alien ships prepared to fire, the Phantom Net activated. Waves of false signals flooded every scanner within range. Dozens of false images of Earth appeared on sensors, 30, 40, 50 phantom planets flickering in the void. From the Council flagship, the alien admiral shouted, "Fire all batteries!" The sky erupted. Millions of beams lanced forward, cutting through space like golden rivers. But the shots hit nothing. The phantom echoes absorbed the targeting data, scattering beams harmlessly into the void. For every Earth destroyed, 10 more appeared on alien screens. Confusion spread through the armada. "Where is their true location?" One officer hissed. The admiral bared his fangs. "Find it and finish this." But before they could realign, the human fleet struck back. Not from orbit, but from below. Hidden launch silos under the Pacific and Siberian crust opened, firing magnetically accelerated projectiles through the atmosphere. They were not missiles, they were kinetic spears guided by quantum targeting. The first one pierced through an alien dreadnought, splitting it in half. The second detonated inside another's reactor. The third ripped through a command bridge, scattering molten fragments into space. In 5 minutes, humanity had turned confusion into chaos. On the Council's homeworld, far away from the battle, Alara Voss watched the news feed in silence. She was still inside her holding cell, preparing for the trial the Council had promised. Holograms flickered across her wall, showing the distant fight over Earth. The alien reporters were calling it an act of defiance, but Alara saw something else. It wasn't defiance. It was strategy. Every move was calculated, every attack designed not to destroy but to delay. Earth was buying her time. The door to her chamber opened with a hiss. 2 guards entered, tall and armored, their faces hidden behind mirrored visors. One spoke in a mechanical voice. "It is time for the first trial. You will come with us." Alara followed them through the long corridor, her eyes scanning everything, the walls, the weapons, the guard's gate. She wasn't afraid. She was studying. Every motion she memorized could mean survival later. The corridor opened into a wide arena made of stone and steel. Above, thousands of spectators from every world filled the stands. A voice boomed through the chamber. "Let the trial of the week begin." Alara stepped onto the central platform. Around her, 10 others appeared, each from a different species. Some taller than buildings, others covered in fur or scales. One, a massive creature with 6 arms, laughed at the sight of her. "A soft skin from a Deathworld? This will be quick." Alara didn't respond. Her gaze moved to the walls. Metallic panels, vents, and flickering lights. She noticed the faint hum of machinery beneath the floor. A holographic field shimmered and the arena changed shape. The ground split open, forming jagged cliffs and rivers of glowing liquid. The test had begun. The alien beside her roared and charged. He was fast, swinging a blade as tall as she was. Alara rolled aside, feeling the air shudder where the blade passed. She didn't try to fight him directly. She couldn't. Instead, she ran toward the vents. As she moved, she tore a metal rod from a broken fixture and jammed it into a nearby energy conduit. Sparks exploded. The ground beneath the charging alien flashed white, then collapsed. The creature fell screaming into molten rock. The crowd gasped. Another alien, a telepathic being of mist and light, tried to trap her mind, filling her head with static. Alara gritted her teeth and slammed the rod into the ground again. The electromagnetic feedback shattered the telepath's concentration. It dissolved into haze. High above, the council judges murmured among themselves. "She's not strong. She's resourceful." "Deathworlders always are," another replied. Alara kept moving, calculating every step. The goal wasn't victory, it was survival. She noticed smaller vents along the walls blowing streams of cool air. They weren't for atmosphere. They were part of a cooling system. That meant the arena had an overheat failsafe. She smiled faintly. Another alien, smaller but armed with claws, leapt toward her. She dodged, grabbed a loose fragment of metal and threw it into a vent. The machine sputtered. A second later, the floor trembled as the cooling system failed. Pressure built. A deep hum rose through the stone. Then the entire arena erupted in a burst of steam and fire. When the smoke cleared, Alara was the only one standing. Her clothes were torn, her face streaked with dust, but her eyes burned bright. From the judge's balcony, the high speaker leaned forward. "You think this proves something, human?" Ilara looked up. "Yes," she said. "It proves you built a test to measure obedience, not intelligence." The high speaker's wings twitched. "You are reckless. You destroy what you touch." "Maybe," Ilara said quietly. "But destruction is how new worlds begin." The council chamber fell silent again. No one had expected her to survive, let alone turn their test against them. Later in her cell, Ilara sat alone, her body aching. A faint beep sounded from the wall, her hidden transmitter. She pressed it and heard Ryland's voice. The connection was weak, but clear enough. "We're holding them back," he said. "Not for long, but long enough." "Then I'll make it count," she replied. "Tell the fleet to stay dark. The council's watching every move." Ryland's voice faded. "Whatever happens, don't let them see you kneel." "I won't," she said. "I never learned how." Outside, the council's sky darkened with storms as word spread across the galaxy. The human from the Deathworld had passed the first trial. Other species began to whisper. If a fragile creature from Earth could stand against the council's will, maybe they could too. In the grand halls of power, alien leaders argued and panicked. But deep beneath the chamber, Ilara Voss sat in silence. Her heart was steady. She knew what was coming. The trials were not meant to test her. They were meant to break her. But Earth had already faced worse than this. Every mountain, every storm, every night of hunger had been its own trial. The council didn't understand. They thought the trials would show weakness. Instead, they were teaching her how the galaxy really worked. And when she learned enough, when the time came, they would see what it meant to challenge a child of a death world. Far away, above the blue planet wrapped in shadow and light, the vigil's end waited among the wreckage of alien ships. Humanity was bleeding but unbroken. The aliens thought they had caged Earth. They didn't realize they had only given it room to grow teeth. The alien fleets returned to Earth's orbit like a storm reborn. Their ships had reformed after the earlier disaster, larger and more coordinated this time, spreading across the void in a ring of fire. New command vessels led them, war machines forged from black metal that absorbed light. They weren't coming to negotiate now. They were coming to end the species that had humiliated them before the council. From the human flagship, Vigil's End, Commander Ryland watched the alien formation unfold. His crew worked in silence. Every display showed red. "They've brought the Purge fleet," his second officer whispered. 70 dreadnoughts, 5,000 cruisers. Ryland didn't flinch. "And Earth still stands." He opened the communication channel to the entire defense network. "This is Commander Ryland to all human vessels. The Council believes we'll fight them with the same tactics. They're wrong. They still think this is a battle. It's not. This is a lesson." At his signal, the planet's orbital field changed. The defense satellites that had once formed a static web began to move, rearranging themselves into patterns no alien could decode. Their signals flickered like dying stars, random to the untrained eye but deliberate to those who understood. The alien flagship broadcast a final warning. "Humanity of Sol, lay down your arms or your world will burn," Ryland smiled faintly. "You've already tried that." The human network pulsed once. The alien sensors spiked. What they saw next froze every admiral in the fleet. Earth's moon, long thought to be nothing more than a mining colony, shifted. Massive doors opened along its equator, revealing engines older than anything built by humanity. The moon wasn't just a satellite. It was a fortress. From within the hollow moon, hundreds of energy projectors ignited. They didn't fire outward. They fired into the empty void, creating gravitational distortions around the planet. Within seconds, space itself began to bend. The alien ships at the outer edge of the formation found their trajectories warping uncontrollably. One dreadnought commander shouted, "Our stabilizers aren't responding. Gravity fields are overlapping." Dozens of ships crashed into each other, their shields flickering. The humans hadn't attacked. They had simply altered the battlefield itself. The entire alien fleet was trapped inside a distorted pocket of space, where their formations meant nothing and their sensors failed. "Target acquired," said Ryland's tactical officer. "No," Ryland replied. "Let them see what they've done first." The communication feed opened again, this time showing the face of the Council's admiral. his feathers trembling in fury. "This is impossible!" "You're primitives. You can't manipulate gravitic resonance." Ryland's voice was calm. "Primitives adapt faster than empires." He ended the transmission. The battle was already won. On the other side of the galaxy, Ilara Voss stood inside the Council's central chamber once again, her wrists bound by magnetic cuffs. She had survived the first trial, and now she faced the second, what the Council called the Trial of Order. It wasn't about strength or survival this time. It was about obedience. The High Speaker hovered before her, wings reflecting the cold light of the hall. "You are charged with defiance against the Council. Your world continues to resist lawful command. Speak now. Will you order your fleets to surrender?" Ilara kept her head high. "No. Then you condemn your people," the speaker hissed. Ilara met its gaze. "My people condemned themselves long ago when they decided never to kneel again." The chamber erupted in whispers. Dozens of alien ambassadors turned their gaze on her. Some were furious. Others, from weaker planets under Council control, looked almost hopeful. A counselor with a narrow, crystalline face stood. "Humanity cannot be reasoned with. Their world must be quarantined forever." Another, covered in blue fur, spoke quietly, "And yet they survive what destroys others. Perhaps we should understand why." The High Speaker silenced them. "Enough, you will watch as the second trial proceeds. Perhaps then you will understand." The floor beneath Ilara shifted. A holographic display appeared, showing a live feed of Earth's orbit, the exact moment Ryland's fleet unleashed the gravity trap. The Council watched in disbelief as their ships twisted through the distorted void. The High Speaker's claws scraped against its staff. "How?" Ilara smiled faintly. "You taught us to fear your weapons. We learned to build around fear." The speaker turned on her. "You would destroy the laws of physics to win?" "No," she said. "We just stopped pretending your laws were the only ones that mattered." The chamber descended into chaos. Ambassadors shouted at each other, some demanding retaliation, others calling for a truce. For the first time, the Council looked divided. Amid the uproar, Ilara noticed something. The delegates from smaller worlds were exchanging glances, whispers of rebellion spreading like cracks through the foundation of power. They were watching her closely. Her defiance had become a symbol. The High Speaker ordered the guards to remove her, but as they pulled her away, she saw the doubt in their eyes too. Even among the enforcers, fear was beginning to turn into something else: curiosity. That night, locked in her quarters, Ilara stared at the holographic window that showed the stars. A faint blue signal blinked on her wristband. It was a message from Earth, encrypted beyond the Council's reach. "Transmission from Commander Ryland," the AI said. Ilara activated it. Ryland's voice came through, faint and crackling. "We've held them back again. The fleet's in chaos, but we've taken losses. The Council will retaliate. Whatever they're planning next, it's not war. It's control." Ilara nodded slowly. "Then we fight it another way." "How?" Ryland asked. "By making them afraid of their own system." The transmission ended. Ilara leaned back against the wall, thinking. The Council didn't fear destruction, they feared disobedience. That was their weakness. Their entire empire was built on submission. All she had to do was keep saying no. When dawn came, the guards returned to escort her to the next phase of the trial. This one was not in an arena. It was in the Memory Vault, a place where the Council stored records of every civilization it had conquered. The speaker wanted her to see the fate of those who resisted. The chamber was dark and silent, filled with floating holograms of dying worlds. 1,000 planets reduced to ash. "These are the consequences of rebellion," said the speaker, his voice low. "Do you understand now what you risk?" Ilara stepped forward, studying each image. The faces of different species screamed, fought, vanished into fire. She felt the weight of it, but not fear. "I understand perfectly," she said. "You rule by reminding them what happens when they lose. But what happens when they stop being afraid of losing?" The speaker's eyes narrowed. "You think fear is weakness. You are wrong. Fear is order." Ilara turned to him. "Then I hope you're afraid of us." Her words echoed in the silent chamber. When she was taken back to her cell, she found a small, strange gift waiting on her table, a folded piece of thin metal shaped like a leaf. She recognized it instantly. It was a symbol of the cur, the small insectoid species she had saved during her first trial. They were not supposed to communicate with her, yet they had risked punishment to send this. Scratched on its surface were 3 words. "We remember you." She closed her fist around the leaf. Outside, in the Council's vast network of worlds, small things began to move quietly. Ships delayed their orders. Trade convoys stopped obeying signals. A rumor spread across the colonies. Humans had broken the Purge fleet. The girl from the Deathworld was still alive. In the Council's highest tower, the speaker stood before his advisors, his wings twitching. She cannot be allowed to speak again. If her defiance spreads, the entire structure will collapse. But even as he said it, the damage was already done. Across the stars, the idea had escaped control. In her cell, Elara whispered into the dark. "You can cage a body, not a spark." And somewhere far beyond, in the distorted skies above Earth, the moon fortress pulsed once more, its engines burning brighter than before. Humanity had survived another day. But what they were building now was more than survival. It was rebellion, quiet, patient, inevitable. The alien armada descended on Earth's orbit like a dark storm. Thousands of warships filled the black sky, their hulls glimmering with symbols of conquest. From the surface, even with the naked eye, people could see faint silver streaks blotting out the stars. Governments called for silence. Militaries across the planet went to full alert. The United Earth Fleet gathered in high orbit, outnumbered and outgunned, yet no one moved. Every radar was focused on a single incoming vessel, the Drax Dominion's flagship, Judicator Prime. Captain Mara stood on the bridge of the human flagship Resolute. Her hands were steady, her eyes cold. The aliens thought Earth was a soft world, a place that bent under pressure, but not this time. Around her, officers whispered in tense voices. The alien fleet's numbers were overwhelming, and the Council had ordered humanity to surrender one of their own, Lyra, the Deathworld girl. They had labeled her a danger to the galaxy, a threat too great to live. The Council wanted her executed publicly, and now they had come to enforce it. "Fleet positioning complete," said Commander Ryan beside her. "But if they fire, we won't hold the line for long." "We're not here to hold," Mara replied. "We're here to make them think twice before they ever try this again." The view screen flickered. A tall alien appeared, scaled skin, 4 eyes glowing with blue light, voice like a thunderous echo. "Human vessel," he boomed. "You are ordered by the Galactic Council to surrender the Deathworld specimen. Refusal will result in planetary cleansing." Mara didn't respond immediately. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. Then slowly she leaned forward. "Tell your masters," she said, her voice calm but sharp, "that Earth doesn't hand over its own. Not to you. Not to anyone." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Then your species will be erased." "Try it," Mara whispered. At that moment, the Resolute systems went dark for a second. Every ship around it flickered. Then the alien fleet's targeting systems began to fail. Entire battleships lost power, their shields dropping one by one. Confusion spread through their ranks. They didn't know that the humans had deployed something new, a counter-electronic pulse net developed in secret. The Resolute was its core. "Captain," Ryan said, his voice trembling, "it's working. Their systems are collapsing." "Hold the signal steady," Mara ordered. "Let them see what humans built in silence." The alien commander snarled through the transmission. "What have you done?" "We learned to fight in ways you can't imagine," Mara said. "You came to our world thinking you could break us. But you forgot where you were, a death world." The fleet above Earth began to break formation. Some ships drifted powerless, others retreated to safer range. But not all. A handful of alien cruisers powered through the interference, charging their plasma cannons. Blue light gathered at their tips. "Brace!" Mara shouted. The cannons fired. Blinding energy ripped through space toward the Resolute. The human fleet scattered, but 3 ships were hit, exploding into fragments. Mara's jaw tightened as she steadied herself against the impact. "Return fire," she said coldly. Hundreds of railguns lit up, their magnetic rounds streaking through the void. They struck with such precision that alien ships cracked open like glass. The Resolute unleashed its main cannon, a single, focused beam that tore through the enemy flagship's shields. For the first time, the Drax Dominion saw what human weapons could really do. But even as the battle raged, Lyra stood deep beneath Earth's surface in a secure facility. Her breathing was slow, eyes closed. Her mind connected to the fleet through neural command links. Every pulse of the interference net was directed by her, guided by human instinct, not AI. She could feel the alien ships moving like predators, but she also felt something else, fear. The Drax fleet began to pull back, but one of their ships transmitted directly to her mind. "Deathworld creature," it hissed, its voice layered with static. "You cannot stand against the galaxy." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "The galaxy already stands on our world. Be careful it doesn't break your legs." On the Judicator Prime, panic spread. "Their interference field is disrupting command," one alien officer shouted. "Our reactors are destabilizing." The alien commander roared, "Hold formation! Fire everything!" But nothing responded. Their command systems looped endlessly, feeding data back into human hands. The Resolute's AI rerouted every signal through captured alien channels. What the aliens saw as a malfunction was actually control. Humans had seized their systems mid-battle. "Target their power cores," Mara ordered. "End this." The Resolute fired again. One by one, the Dominion ships detonated, blue fire spreading through the dark. Within minutes, the massive fleet that had come to subjugate Earth was nothing but debris drifting silently in orbit. Then, the transmission lines reopened. The Galactic Council appeared, dozens of alien species, horrified and silent. "Humanity," one of them began, voice shaking. "You were warned not to resist the Council's judgment." Mara stared at the screen. "We didn't resist judgment. We showed you why you shouldn't try to deliver it." A ripple of unease spread through the council chamber. Some delegates whispered, others glared. For the first time, they saw a human standing unafraid before them. Then Lyra appeared beside Mara on the bridge, her face calm, eyes glowing faintly from the neural connection. "They thought kneeling meant peace," she said softly, "but they only kneel to power." The council speaker leaned forward. "And you claim that power now?" Lyra didn't answer immediately. The silence hung heavy, stretching into every corner of the transmission. Outside, the remains of the Dominion fleet still burned like falling stars. "We don't claim power," Lyra said finally. "We claim freedom. But if you want to take that from us again, you'll learn who rules now." The transmission cut. The Resolute drifted among the wreckage, its crew silent as they watched the sky clear of the enemy. On the surface, humanity stood united. For once, there was no border, no division. Just one world staring upward, and realizing that they had changed everything. But in the far reaches of space, in the hidden sectors of the galaxy, other powers stirred. The defeat of the Drax Dominion had sent shockwaves across countless systems. And somewhere, deep within the void, another armada began to move. Mara turned toward Lyra. "They won't stop," she said quietly. "I know," Lyra replied. "But neither will we." Outside the viewport, the stars seemed to flicker as though watching. The galaxy had thought Earth was a backwater, a forgotten rock. But that illusion had just shattered. And in that silence, one truth began to spread across the stars. Humanity was no longer to be tested, tamed, or ruled. They had survived their death world. Now they were coming for the galaxy. The stars were burning. Every major relay across the galaxy flickered with emergency transmissions. Thousands of worlds watched in disbelief as the largest armada ever assembled approached Earth. The Galactic Restoration Alliance had failed. The Drax Dominion had fallen. Now the Council itself was moving in, their fleets stretching across light years, their ships forming a silver tide that devoured the darkness. It was no longer a punishment. It was extermination. From orbit, Earth's night side glowed faintly under the reflection of alien hulls. Billions of humans looked up, knowing this was the day that would decide everything. No more diplomacy, no more waiting. It was survival or extinction. At the center of the human defense grid, the Resolute 2 floated silently. It was larger than its predecessor, rebuilt with alien alloy, powered by hybrid technology humans had reverse-engineered from the wrecks of those who came before. On its bridge stood Captain Mara, her uniform scorched from previous battles, her expression calm. Around her, officers prepared for the inevitable. "Long-range scans confirm 8,000 enemy vessels," said Commander Rian. "They've surrounded the solar system. Jupiter and Mars defense lines are already under siege." "Any word from Lyra?" Mara asked. "Transmission coming through now." The screen flickered, showing Lyra standing in the underground command chamber beneath Earth. She looked pale but unshaken, her neural interface glowing faintly along her temples. "They've cut us off from half the defense satellites," she said. "They're targeting our communication nodes, but we can still make them pay for every inch." Mara's lips curved into a faint smile. "Then we'll make it count." Outside, the void erupted. Alien capital ships fired their first volley, a storm of plasma and energy that tore through asteroids and disabled outer defense stations. The human fleet responded instantly, railgun fire and missile bursts cutting through space. The battle began with thunder, but even in chaos there was strategy. "Activate the ghost field," Mara ordered. Across the human fleet, invisible generators hummed to life. In seconds, hundreds of human vessels vanished from radar, replaced by thousands of false readings. The aliens, trained for centuries to rely on perfect sensors, suddenly found themselves firing into empty space. Dozens of their ships exploded under precision strikes from hidden human destroyers. The humans didn't fight in straight lines, they fought like shadows. The alien admiral, a tall being with crystalline skin, growled from his throne aboard the Council flagship. "They dare mock the Council with illusions, focus fire on the planet, burn their home, make them see their weakness." Every alien cannon turned toward Earth. From her command center, Lyra's hands flew across the control surface. "They're targeting the atmosphere. If they fire, the surface will ignite." "Then stop them," Mara's voice came through. "I intend to." Lyra closed her eyes, merging with the neural web that connected every remaining defense system on Earth. The Orion Array reactivated, its massive energy rings glowing through the clouds. But this time something was different. The system wasn't just jamming signals, it was rewriting the laws of electronic warfare. The alien ship's own targeting systems began feeding them false coordinates, convincing them they were firing at Earth when they were actually targeting each other. From orbit, it looked like madness. Alien cruisers tore through their own formations, plasma bolts colliding mid-flight. The sky became a storm of fire. On the Resolute 2, Rian stared in awe. "She's doing it again. They're destroying themselves." Mara didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the tactical screen. "Keep formation. We strike when their command ship shows weakness." The alien flagship suddenly charged its main cannon, a weapon capable of splitting a planet's crust. But Lyra anticipated it. She redirected every orbital satellite to form a magnetic funnel, bending the beam's trajectory before it could reach the surface. The massive weapon fired, only for its energy to ricochet straight back, slamming into the alien flagship itself. The explosion was like a new sunrise, but the victory came at a cost. The feedback pulse overloaded the Orion Array. On Earth, power grids failed, systems went dark, and Lyra collapsed as the neural surge hit her mind. "Signal lost from ground command," Ryan said urgently. "The array's offline." Mara tightened her grip on the console. "Then we finish this ourselves." The human fleet surged forward. Every ship fired at once, railguns blazing. The alien armada tried to recover, but without central command, their coordination faltered. Still, they had numbers and their fury. Waves of drones and interceptors swarmed the humans, breaking through defenses, slamming into hulls. "Shields at 40%. Hale shouted. "Hold the line!" Mara commanded. The bridge shook under impact. Panels burst, sparks flying. But Mara stood her ground, eyes fixed on the alien flagship still burning in the distance. "Target what's left of their main vessel. Fire everything." Every remaining cannon and missile bay on the Resolute 2 unleashed its payload. The void turned white with energy. The alien flagship cracked apart, its central core imploding, and yet amid the fire something else began to move. From the wreckage of the Council fleet, a massive structure emerged. It wasn't a ship. It was a fortress, a relic of the first civilizations buried in their archives for eons. The aliens had brought their final weapon, the Ark of Sovereigns. Its hull stretched for miles, ancient symbols pulsing like veins. Energy readings spiked off every scale. "Captain," Ryan whispered, "if that thing fires, it'll wipe the solar system." Mara didn't hesitate. "Prepare the last pulse. Redirect all reactor power to the core." "But that will destroy us," Hale said. "We knew this day would come," Mara said quietly. "Better to end it our way than theirs." As the Ark's weapon began to glow, the Resolute 2 charged its final cannon. The ship's structure trembled, metal twisting from the energy coursing through it. Outside, the stars seemed to flicker as if holding their breath. "On my mark," Mara said softly. "For Earth!" The ship fired. A single blinding beam tore through the void, colliding with the Ark's weapon core. The resulting explosion engulfed everything. Space itself rippled. The human fleet was thrown back by the shockwave, and for a moment nothing existed but silence and light. When the glare faded, the Ark was gone. The remaining alien ships scattered, their formations broken, their leadership destroyed. What remained of the Resolute 2 drifted among the wreckage, its engines dead, its hull cracked open to the void. Rian crawled across the deck, reaching for the captain's chair. "Mara," he said weakly. But she was gone, standing at the viewport, eyes closed, a faint smile on her lips as the last fragments of the alien fleet fled into hyperspace. Below, on Earth, Lyra woke in the ruins of the command chamber. The systems were dead, but through the shattered ceiling she saw the night sky, clear, quiet, and filled with falling debris that glowed like stars. "Is it over?" whispered one of the surviving officers beside her. Lyra didn't answer for a long time. Then she said softly, "No, it's just beginning." Because across the galaxy the message had already spread. The Council was gone. The Dominion was broken. The Ark had fallen. And one small, once-ignored world had done it all. They called Earth a Deathworld. They called its people reckless, unstable, dangerous. No, the galaxy called them something else. Rulers. And in the dark between the stars, every empire began to whisper the same question. One that carried fear, awe, and respect. If this is what humanity does when cornered, what happens when they finally decide to conquer?